Islam, Islam, Islam. Welcome to another episode of Moorish Science Radio. It's your host, Sheikh Way L, aka Lord Abba. First, I want to say I rise giving all praise to Allah and the highest of honors to His holy and divine prophet, Noble Drew Ali. I extend those honors to the harbinger and forerunner, Marcus Mosiah Garvey. I extend honors to all true and divine prophets, and I extend honors to you all for when man honors man, he honors his father God Allah. On this episode of Moorish Science Radio, we're opening up a can of worms on this. We're going to deal with the 13th Amendment with 20 sections. Now, for the past couple of weeks, I've had brothers that kept coming to my Facebook page and posting up this information about 13th Amendment in 20 sections. And at first, I was just brushing the brothers off. I would respond and then say, okay, brother, all right. I'm not going to respond any further. If that's what you believe, that's what you believe. Then I started to notice more brothers would come on. More and more and more. Then brothers start calling me with the same debate. And so it reached a boil when I finally decided that I was going to put this particular item on the chopping block. See if it could stand up to the scrutiny. They said when you throw a rock in a pack of dogs, you'll know the dog that got hit by the one that screamed. I believe this particular rock ricocheted. And while this show was to go at a specific group of Moors, it also rubbed some other Moors the wrong way because I mentioned the name Timothy Dingle L. I view him no differently than I view Richardson Dingle L. This is me. I'm here to tell the truth. Before I continue, I want to read from the Prophet. And this is called to the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. This is the instruction from your Prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Be faithful unto your forefathers' divine and national creed, that you will be blessed for your good deeds that you sow in the flesh. Allah is the one that judges the world, and his judgment is now on. But the weak can comprehend it not. The end of time is drawing near. So says Allah to his divine prophet. I, Noble Drew Ali. And that's why many hearts have been turned to stone, and many have eyes to see but cannot see, ears to hear but cannot hear, lest they would be confounded of their sins. These are the trying hours now, dear Moors, and every evil spirit is moving, and they are trying every weak mind to overthrow and drag out the true foundation that has been laid and to cause confusion in the minds of the ones that do believe. But if you have the true love of Allah and the spirit of your forefathers, you fear not what you hear or see, but will sacrifice the utmost of your very life to protect your movement and your prophet. Watch your enemies, dear Moors. Your enemies are the ones that speak against your prophet and ridicule him to the very lowest, and the ones that speak against your divine and national principles of your temples. Act accordingly, and Allah will bless you for your good work. Peace. Your divine prophet, Noble Drew Ali. For bringing up a lot of this information, I'm dubbed the bad guy. Everybody calls me Lord Abba the bad guy. He always wants to debate something. He's always challenging something. Scarface in that restaurant scene, he told the people that they didn't have the guts to be what they wanted to be. And so they needed people like him, people like me, so that y'all can point y'all fingers at and say, That's the bad guy. And so I guess that makes you good. But you're not good. You just know how to hide it. You know how to lie. And me, I always tell the truth. And if I'm wrong, I come back right on a show like this or on my Facebook page so all can see I was wrong and correct it. This won't be the last time you hear or see this particular bad guy for those of you that want me to be that. Oh, no, no. You're going to have to contend with me. It is simple as that. Truth is on the scene. And enemies made by truth is much, much better than friends made by flattery. So stay tuned, Moorish America, and make way for the bad guy, if that's what you view me as. I did a thread 2 days ago, and this particular thread in 2 days reached 482 comments. 482 comments, Moors. That's almost 500 comments. Now, the thread was a test to see the reaction that I would get from these Moors that believe that the 13th Amendment with 20 sections somehow has some saving power for our people. They vigorously promote this. And this is why the prophet says, and that's why many hearts have been turned to stone, and many have eyes to see but cannot see, ears to hear but cannot hear, lest they would be confounded of their sin. Because if they listen to the reason, if they listen to the words of the prophet, then they would have to say to themselves before they said to anybody else, I'm wrong. And how hard is it for a man to look in the mirror and say, you know what? I'm wrong. There were many hypocrites on that thread. People that came to obviously debate their side of the argument. And instead of presenting their claims with anything factual, they started to call me out of my name. Call me Negroes. This Negro this, and this Negro that. These same ones that claim that they're upholding Prophet Noble Drew Ali, who taught us that, according to all true and divine records, that there are no Negroes, blacks, colors, attached to the human families of nations. This is a derogatory term that Europeans use to demean us. So why would you call me such? There was one sister that came and took the brother's side. He was right when he said this and that and this and that. Brother Lord Abba, you're a fool. And I simply just called the sister a hypocrite because she did not condemn the brother for coming and speaking un-Islamic or un-Muslim words to another Muslim. I don't care what you say about me. I strive to the fullest to live this thing 100%. 100%. And I'm not perfect, but I'm getting there. I'm getting there. It's indicative of this one sister that posted up about John Hanson and the first Asiatic president in slavery. I responded to the sister's thread. I was like, sister, that story, or Islam sister, that story is a myth. Men have conflated two different John Hanson. And I gave a brief breakdown, and the sister just responded in all capital letters, next, with 3 exclamation points behind it. A brother came on, Kara or Sarah the hangman or something to that effect, totally cursing me out. F you, Lord Abba, mother effers like you, and F you this, and F. I'm like, wow. So I basically ignored the brother, and I posted links for the sister to research and say, look, sister, the John Hanson story is a fake. That's not real. That man, John Hanson, what's that, 1873, I believe, cameras wasn't even invented when the first Continental Congress had its first meeting. It's just not possible. That man that's in the picture, he was part of some sort of Liberian mission. That's not the same man. The sister would come back with, well, Lord Abel, nobody in Moorish circles like you anyway. You always, I can't remember everything that she said. I'm like, wow. I said, well, from what I see, it's only the dirty Moors who do not like me because I speak the truth and I use the documentation to back it up with. I don't try to push a square peg in a round hole. I don't do that. If I have an opinion on something, I give my opinion. And I say, this is what I believe. To believe is that which we know is not necessarily the truth. It's what we believe. And I'll say that. I have all of these Moors that come on, like one sheik who came on talking about, I'm a sheik, a grand sheik, my wife's a sheik. And, well, what does that have to do with the conversation? Can you back up the claim that's on the thread? Because all I hear is the piety of holy smoke, or the holy smoke of piety, how that phrase goes. It has nothing to do with it. And my challenge is for Moors of both sides, the Timothy Dingle L and the Richardson Dingle L side, to step up. If I'm wrong about what I'm saying, then please, Moors, let's have a respectful dialogue. There's no need to call me out of my name. He's not a real sheik. What makes me not a real sheik? I was raised up as a sheik and a divine minister in the temple that I proclaim through. But because you don't know this, you're just assuming. And then I can say, what makes you a real sheik? Because I can trace your line back. And it doesn't trace back to Prophet Noble Drew Ali. If you want to get technical. That's if you want to get technical. And we're going to touch on that aspect a little later. So we had a lot of Moors that came on the thread talking about a bunch of craziness, adhesion contracts, and what does that have to do with the 13th Amendment and 20 sections and it being a tool of upliftment, and salvation for our people? There's nothing that these people spoke on that thread, and I've read just about all of the comments on the thread, had anything to do with this particular topic at all. And so, of course, people like when you pull the weeds of the Afrocentrists. They all cheer you on. Islam, Abba. That was an excellent video, or excellent note debunking these Moors are enemies against the Prophet. Well, are not the men that are saying that the 13th and 20th Amendment not enemies to the Prophet? They don't want to address that. They want to say, oh, you changed the Holy Quran, the Prophet's, Allah's words in the Moorish Holy Quran. Well, what I did was created an alternate Moorish Quran for those who have a problem reading the thick Shakespearean text in the second half of the book. Because this is what responsible nations do. They take initiative. This is what the New International Version of the Bible is about, or the New American Standard Bible, and the Quran of Muhammad that I have. It's in standard English so that we don't get confused with the thys and the thous and the shall nots and all of that, which is also written in a certain type of syntax that if you are not proficient in the English language or studied, you won't be able to decipher. It's just as simple as that. So I did something that I felt was necessary for the people so that they can understand what Prophet Noble Drew Ali brought to us. And when they say you changed the law's words, no. Prophet Noble Drew Ali compiled that information from several different sources. There's not one jot nor tittle of his words changed at all. So please miss me with that. I want to open up the line and bring on my brother Grimion L, who's going to be co-hosting the show with me tonight. Islam, beloved, welcome to Moorish Science Radio. You're on the air.
Islam, Moor. praise the Most High God, Allah. Right, giving all praise to Allah and honors to His holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Just for the record, I'm representing myself as an individual.
Islam. You know, and that's good, more, because I don't want this particular discourse to get anybody in trouble with anybody that they're aligned with. And this is why I believe I'm in a unique position. So I don't have to worry about that, because the truth has to be told. And I didn't pick this fight right here. I want the record to be clear. I didn't pick this fight at all. I was on the phone. I got a phone call from a brother, Setep Hotep Bey. I hope you listening in, brother. And he tried to run through all of this stuff, and he couldn't explain it. So he got the more formerly known as Moorish Brooklyn on the line. I forget, he said his name was Sheikh Bafrael or Bafre Bey or something to that effect. I'm not trying to disrespect him more. I just can't remember what it is. So I'll refer to him as the more formerly known as Moorish Brooklyn. And this brother would get on the phone, and he would talk and talk and talk and start saying, how many times did the prophet mention Hebrew in the Moorish Quran? I'm like, I don't know why. 4 different times. Why did he mention that? Well, that's the text is from the Aquarian Gospel, and when you look at the lineage, I mean, it's clear. Hebrew, Judaic, the Abrahamic and Solomonic lines. He did it because we really Hebrew Moors. Oh, as opposed to Moorish American Muslims. We're Moorish Hebrews. And yeah, because this is the Levitical laws. What are you talking about? Nothing that this brother said made any sense. It was all assumptions. When you go to their website, the Moorish American National Republic.com, it's filled with information like where it says they're speaking about the supplemental emancipations and the compensated emancipations. And then it says bringing back up the 13th Amendment with 20 sections after it was rejected in 1864 and pushed for it to be passed in January of 1865, in which it became ratified by 3/4 of the several states and became a permanent part of the Constitution on November 18, 1865. This was the reason why Prophet Noble Drew Ali spoke about 1865. So what he's saying here, people, is that this 13 amendments with 20 sections is the reason that Prophet Noble Drew Ali mentioned 1865. This is false. This is just absolutely false. And we're gonna debunk. We're gonna debunk these claims tonight. These claims are gonna be debunked. We're gonna read the 13th Amendment with 20 sections, and we're gonna show and prove that this is a pro-slavery document, that if it was passed, Moors, that if this document, the 13th Amendment with 20 sections was passed, we would still be indentured slaves below the what is it called, the 3630, which is the southern states, including Virginia. We're going to show and prove. Our brother Grimion L. Islam, more. Islam?
Islam, more.
Oh, okay. Now, I had a couple of Moors from the Timothy Dingle L fraction hit me up on Facebook. They caught a little feeling, and their premise was that the 13 and 20 wasn't something that Timothy Dingle L stood on. And I don't have the book, what is it called? The Resurrection and the other books, the Negro, the Black, and the Moor. But from your understanding, and I just want to ask this question, was it your understanding that Timothy Dingle L did stand on the 13th Amendment with 20 sections?
Yes, sir. It's my understanding that he did stand on the 13th Amendment with the 20 sections. I mean, it's only obvious being that was the main demonstration by his brother Richardson Dingle L., it's only obvious that he stood upon the 13th Amendment with the 20 sections, and we also have documented evidence to the same.
Okay. I just wanted to be clear in that regard, because you have some Moors that say that this is not the truth, and that this is not the case. And being that I cannot necessarily combat that because I don't have those particular books, what I do have is certain history that's passed on from other elders in the movement that have done the research that show that he did stand on this 13th Amendment with 20 sections. And I wanted to clear that up because it's vitally important before we move on. Now, Islam. I want to, all right, this is what I'm going to do. Matter of fact, no, we're going to hold off on that. We're going to deal with Abraham Lincoln. We're going to deal with Abraham Lincoln right now. These brothers laud Abraham Lincoln as a prophet, as a savior that brought salvation to our people with the passing of the 13th Amendment. And with 20 sections, or the 13th Amendment with 2 sections, whichever one, really doesn't matter. The point, and when you go to that website, let me call that website again. For those of you, it's Moorish American National Republic.com, preview of the history, political views, and spiritual side of Abraham Lincoln. Find that link, and they pretty much are bigging up Abraham Lincoln. They're citing the resurrection by Timothy Dingle in this particular article, and at the very end of the article, they have a picture with Abraham Lincoln standing with his hand on the book, and Prophet Noble Drew Ali standing with his hand on the book, juxtaposing each other as to give an equal reverence to those that may be looking in and saying, "Wow, Abraham Lincoln was a savior. Look at what he's doing, and look at what Prophet Noble Drew Ali is doing. That appears to be the same." It's one of those shock value images. And let me say real quick, I offered the Moor, formerly known as Moorish Brooklyn, to come on to this show to debate his issues. And before I can really get everything, no. If I'm staunch on any issue that I hold dear to my breast, call my name and I'll be there. It's just simple as that. Ali Muhammad called my name. Everybody was waiting for my response. I knew that I was taking a trip to New York soon. We just sped the trip up and made sure I called Sarnetta a week in advance and let him know. Let Ali Muhammad know I'll be up there. Let's see if he can make those same claims while I'm sitting there face to face. And Ali Muhammad said, "Well, what does the Lord ever want to speak to me about?" After he made a video calling me out. No, beloved. I don't believe in the Moorish Science Temple of America. I don't believe in Noble Drew Ali. I have faith and fruition in Noble Drew Ali and the Moorish Science Temple of America. Notice to be fact. I have faith and fruition. I am past the stage of belief, Moors. So I want to get into the racist. That's Abraham Lincoln. But before I go more, was there anything you wanted to add real quick?
Islam, Moore.
Yes,
basically is this, Moore, regarding Abraham Lincoln. And forgive me if I jumped the gun, because you mentioned the whole demonstration. But I like to say, first and foremost, we don't speak radical against any organized group or according to the laws of Prophet Noble Drew Ali. However, the truth has to be told that, this particular information that these individuals are putting out and have been putting out for a long time is an injury to the race and to the works of the Prophet Noble Drew Ali in general. And all true Moors and who want to carry on the works of the prophet, and people who may be interested in the movement. And the thing about it is, besides some church circles and people talking on the side, these ideas in general have went unchallenged by a lot of individuals, So what I would like to see is, what we're going to do, I should say, we're not here to disrespect anyone, but the bottom line is that we have to put out the truth of what this demonstration is really about. And what they have done more is they have packaged something else, and they've packaged something and they're selling it as something else. And that's not fair, Moore. It's just not fair to the race.
It's not. It is actually a detriment.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So I was just saying, Moore, and this is what the prophet said. These are the trying hours now, dear Moors, and every evil spirit is moving, and they are trying every weak mind to overthrow and drag out the true foundation that has been laid and to cause confusion in the minds of the ones that do believe. Now, look at what else was so important about this is that Prophet Noble Drew Ali, he tells us that if you have the true love of Allah and the spirit of your forefathers, you fear not what you hear or see, but will sacrifice the utmost of your very life to protect your movement and your prophet.
Wow. That's clear.
That's clear. So at some point in time, we have to step up and protect the movement. Because when I had the conversation with this brother, the Moor formerly known as Moorish Brooklyn, at the end of the conversation, I said, brother, man, nothing that you said during this whole conversation made any sense to me. And I like to think that I am a sensible brother, that I deal with some level of reasoning and discernment, some averment, some truth. I would like to think that. I would like to think that the scholastic presentations based on my research was done in a way to make others say, that Moore seems to know what he's talking about, even if I don't say it about myself. And I believe that these brothers are a detriment to the Prophet's movement. And they picked this fight. And I feel that this is simply the spirit of the truth moving here that is compelling this particular discussion.
Islam. And I would like to go, as to start off more, we would want to discuss what you mentioned on that particular website, regarding the actual ideas of Abraham Lincoln. They may go back and they will want to talk about Abraham Lincoln's descent from the Asiatic nations. However, that will be irrelevant to the topic because I'm pretty sure what you're going to address is the fact of the actually historically factual documented ideas of Abraham Lincoln, which is antithetical, if you will, to everything that these particular brothers teach.
That's right.
And whenever you're ready, because, the bottom line is that, Lincoln himself did not harbor abolitionist ideals.
Not at all.
He was a politician more. Let's start off like this. I give the brothers credit because, the demonstration is truth and falsehood strangely mixed.
Indeed.
The ideal of ending Asiatic slavery more historically documented was in the hands of the so-called founding fathers of the United States of America. And after the revolution, so many Asiatic warriors had aided in this demonstration that the ideals to release them from bondage, kept coming up. And, even individuals like George Washington and many founding fathers had ideals against physical physical slavery, if you will, but they were pressured by the actual conditions that they were living in to sustain slavery. So in other words, they were getting pressured. You know, the colonies were being pressured by southern colonies to keep this particular institution called slavery in existence. So pretty much what individuals like George Washington did, even though they harbored these ideals, was more they kicked the can. You know, nobody wanted to deal. Islam?
No, I said that's all they did, Moore. They just kicked the can.
So that's what the Liberty Bell demonstration was about. They were supposed to do something, but they didn't. So they just kept kicking the can down the road. And what happened was it fell into the lap of Abraham Lincoln. And to proof of that matter is politicians do the same thing today. All of this stuff that we seeing with the economy, with the deficit, the only thing that is kicking the proverbial can down the road to our children and grandchildren. And that's what happened with the Abraham Lincoln demonstration. And that's why it landed in his lap. And he had to rectify it more. And really, in essence, what he did, I mean, he even made the statement that if he could save the Union and keep slavery intact, he would. So pretty much his whole thing was Islam. That's right, Moore.
We're gonna get into all of that. We're gonna
Islam.
We're gonna get into more. All right, look, this is what I want to do. I want to start by reading this because it's important. And this was something that one of my brothers said on a thread. I don't want to call his name. I don't know. This is a touchy situation because certain Moors are aligned with certain Moors. They knew them for years, and it causes a little rift. And I've seen by certain posts that people put up on Facebook today, certain posts that I heard about. But my brother, a brother that I respect, he said the 13th Amendment only outlaws a condition. It doesn't change the status of a people. And that also includes the 1320. It opens the door for self-determination. That was it. He said, all right, I'm going to start from here. He said there is no need for any amendment for the salvation of his people, which is why he referenced the Free National Constitution of 1774, as in before 1865, declaring, not voting in or deciding or amending, all men free and equal. What the prophet was stating was that first off, all we had to do was be men, and without a nationality, we could not be men. Secondly, he was blatantly stating that the extra amendment issues, including the 13th Amendment, were really not about us. And you just said it, Brother Grimion. Now you just, and because that's what the history says, that the whole Civil War and the 13th Amendment was not about the abolition of slavery. This is what American historical romanticists try to paint the picture as, but the historical records, they tell us something totally different. He goes on to state, if Richardson Dingle L was in fact correct with his application of this, and if Joel Bratton Bay is in fact correct with his application of this, because the two are not the same applications, then that would not only mean that the prophet did not raise the nation, which would make him a liar, since he himself said that this, meaning the Moorish Science Temple of America, is the only sole foundation that all Asiatics must depend upon for their earthly salvation as American citizens, not wait 50 more years for said earthly salvation as American citizens, and that there were no Moors until Richardson Dingle L's 1320 procedure. This is a sentiment that is concurred among all true Moors that follow Prophet Noble Drew Ali. I don't care what grand body you're in. You speak to anybody from any of these grand bodies that doesn't preach that is nonsense. And forgive me, Moors, but it's nonsense. It's utter nonsense to state that this 1320 has some remedy for us. And it really doesn't. So we want to start with this. This is an article I've taken out of the Star Telegram by a man named Jen Twitt. There were so many articles to choose one. This was just one of the shortest ones, and it was called President Lincoln Would Be Viewed as a Racist Today. He says that the man, this article was published on April 29th of this year. He says that the man held up as a champion of social equality and black freedom was actually trying to engineer a project to ship all black Americans to Africa or a Central American nation, even while he was signing the Emancipation Proclamation. Lincoln was a member of the American Colonization Society, an organization founded in 1816 whose stated purpose was to promote Negro relocation, black relocation. Prominent citizens like Thomas Jefferson, James Madison, Francis Scott Key, and James Monroe were members too. In the late 1850s, when Lincoln and Stephen Douglas were engaged in a historic series of debates during their Illinois Senate race, Lincoln said, "I have no purpose to introduce political and social equality between the white and the blacks. There is a physical difference between the two which, in my judgment, will probably forever forbid their living together, and I am in favor of the race to which I belong having the superior position." I'm going to read that whole quote later. It continues. After being elected president in 1860 with only 39% of the popular vote, Lincoln sought to assure the Southerners that he had no intention of ending the institution of slavery. In a letter to Alexander Stephens, who clearly became vice president of the Confederacy, Lincoln wrote, "Do the people of the South really entertain fears that a Republican administration would directly or indirectly interfere with their slaves? I wish to assure you there is no cause for such fears." After the Civil War began in 1861, he worked two strategies to solve the race dilemma. In June of 1862, Lincoln signed the law abolishing slavery in all the federal territories. And in July, he read to his cabinet a draft of the Emancipation Proclamation, which would give the Confederacy 100 days to lay down arms, or he would declare all slaves in those states to be free. He issued that threat publicly in September. Moors, the question becomes, if Lincoln had the executive power to declare all slaves in those states to be free, why not simply make the declaration? And then the quote that I read from my brother earlier about self-determination, these things would have kicked in. Moors, this is not rocket science. This is something that a fifth grader can literally put together. The methodology of these brothers' demonstration is a flawed one. It is not scientific nor scholastic at all. And truth is on the scene now. That's the line I borrowed from my brother Grimmy Yarnell. I'll be running with. The truth is on the scene now, and we are putting things in their proper order. Now, he stated that ending slavery was not the purpose of the 13th Amendment. It was to keep the Union intact, and that was all. Meanwhile, he was signing orders authorizing a project to relocate, quote, unquote, Negroes to Central America. That quickly failed, however, when Nicaragua, Honduras, and Costa Rica protested. Moors, there are brothers that are on my threads that I posted 2 days ago and today that are saying, why y'all can't give props to this man that freed us? If it wasn't for him, we wouldn't be free today. If he had his way, you would still be enslaved. And if freed, we would have been in Costa Rica somewhere. and this would have been an all European land, and I'm quite sure that any Moors that would have been here under servitude or serfdom. Period. This can be verified by the historical records, by historians. Just simply Google this information, Moors. Find all of the information, and you're going to see that it's the truth. These Moors' demonstration is flawed. We're not disrespecting these Moors. We're not speaking radical about them. We are, however, attacking a teaching that goes against the fundamental tenets that Prophet Noble Drew Ali laid down. I'll give an example. When I was on the phone with this same brother Setep Hotep Bey and the Moor, formerly known as Moorish Brooklyn, the brother said, well, Abba, are you saying that all we got to do is just go into the Moorish Science Temple of America and proclaim our nationality and get a nationality card, and that's it? I'm like, yeah, because that's what Prophet Noble Drew Ali established for us to do. What else? What else is there? And then I explained to the brother what I read when I opened up this show by the Prophet, when he said, watch your enemies, dear Moors. They are the ones that are trying to drag the true foundation of this movement out from underneath the man. They are the ones that speak against the principles of your temples. And that's what that brother did and didn't even realize it. They are more caught up into studying Emancipation Proclamations, Civil War history, Ulysses Grant. They are more caught up into studying these things than studying what Prophet Noble Drew Ali left while bandying his picture about as if they truly follow what he brought. And that's just not the case, Moors. And we are here telling the truth in this regard. And I want to say again, I didn't pick this fight. This fight came to me, and I'm addressing it the way I know how, with the facts. Islam, Brother Grim Yarnell, did you want to say something to that?
It's Islam, Moor. I just wanted to make some more quick comments on the Islam. Can you hear me, Brother Beloved? I just wanted to make some other comments, regarding the whole demonstration, to add what you were saying. Pretty much through much of Abraham Lincoln's, political career, he always believed a foreign colonization was the answer for the Negro problem, as opposed to any form of quote unquote naturalization or nationalization, if you will. And if anybody can prove that demonstration, they more than welcome to. Because in 1852 and 1854, he said that his first instinct would have been to free the slaves and send them all to Liberia.
That's right.
So it seems like these particular group of Moors has woven a unhistorical and illogical myth around the actual presidency of Abraham Lincoln, so they could turn around and in turn justify some of the things that they were asking for, which I know I don't want to jump the gun. I know which we're going to get into.
That's right. Islam. Okay. That brings us, I'm going to read, before we get into reading the actual 13th Amendment with 20 sections, I want to read these racist quotes by Abraham Lincoln, this man that they hold up as a savior of our race. They drank the Kool-Aid of Americanized romanticism. They drank the Kool-Aid, and we have to bring the historical records to light so that people may not be confused any longer as to what this Moorish movement is about. And so I want to start This is from June 26, 1857, at a speech at Springfield, Illinois. Abraham Lincoln says this: there is a natural disgust in the minds of nearly all white people at the idea of an indiscriminate amalgamation of the white and black races. A separation of the races is the only perfect preventive of amalgamation. But as immediate separation is impossible, the next best thing is to keep them apart where they are not already together. That's coming from their savior, their prophet.
Right.
September 18, 1858, at Charleston, Illinois, he says, I will say then that I am not, nor ever have been in favor of making voters or jurors of Negroes, nor of qualifying them to hold office, nor to intermarry with white people. And I will say in addition to this that there is a physical difference between the white and black races, which I believe will forever forbid the two races living together on terms of social and political equality. And inasmuch as they cannot so live, Islam?
No, Islam, Moore. Sorry to interrupt, but this particular part right here that you were reading about the actual physical differences, Moore, that says it all about the actual attitude. That's all, Moore. I just had to put that in there.
It's clear. It's just so clear. All right, he continues. And in as much as they cannot so live, while they do remain together, there must be the position of superior and inferior. And I, as much as any other man, am in favor of having the superior position assigned to the white race. That's coming from their savior, their prophet.
Islam.
Okay, we have another one.
That, Moore, that, Moore, I would just in case somebody come and try to say, you know, the white, you know, or define white and use the black law dictionary about the white status and the Negro status. You know, when he was making those statements, he wasn't talking about status because he used the word race itself, more. He said white race.
That's right.
So if anybody come and try to use that argument, you know, it would necessarily show that he was really talking about European psychology, right, or what we would call European supremacy.
That's exactly right. See, they can't do that round peg or that square peg in a round hole demonstration with us because it doesn't work. You are dealing with men that are employing reason and logic and a sound methodology and our research methods. So you can't just come to us, well, Prophet Noble Drew Ali really meant that we're Moorish Hebrews. I've never heard of a Muslim Hebrew. Have you, Moore? Have you ever heard of a man that was a Muslim Hebrew?
Moore, this is the demonstration right here. Like we talked about, that argument in itself is a deflection from the issue. And that's why they use that. Because in order for everybody to be clear, let's just give a basic outline of what these individuals believe. So nobody can be confused. These individuals believe that during the Civil War era, we were freed in 1865, and that the 13th Amendment with 2 sections was never ratified, and that the 13th Amendment with 20 sections was ratified, and that this 13th Amendment with 20 sections guaranteed Moors certain rights and guaranteed us this limited source of wealth and all of this type of demonstration from slavery. And they believe, just a lot of the belief, so we could get to that question that you just asked. So they believe that the actual book of the Great Conspiracy backs up the fact that this 13th Amendment with 20 sections was passed. And if you read the book, there was an argument about slavery. And these individuals brought in the actual quotations from the Bible regarding slavery, so each side can justify its arguments. So these brothers seen that they used the Levitical code. So from that particular argument, they developed later on the concept that we were Hebrew Moors or Hebrew Muslims, if you will, so they can try to justify the linkage in the great conspiracy of these individuals invoking the Levitical code, so they could, or slavery from the Bible, so they could debate their actual pro and con decisions on this demonstration. So they use the Hebrew Moor or the Hebrew Muslim demonstration as a deflection. And like you mentioned something, there's absolutely no doubt, that the prophet outlined Jesus' history or his genealogy in part in the questionnaire. But that has absolutely nothing to do with what they're trying to justify in the 13th Amendment and the 20th section and the actual argument behind it in the Great Conspiracy.
Islam. It's clear. And we just urge Moors to go and do the research. This show right here is, I believe, one of the most important shows that we've done so far. Because Moors, Prophet Noble Drew Ali said, it was quoted as saying, if you are not careful, your own brothers will put you right back into slavery. So I'm going to read these last two statements by Abraham Lincoln. I'm going to do a promo plug. We're not even going to, we're not even doing our music break on this one. We shooting this straight through. I might let y'all hear my baby do the Moorish American prayer, and that's about it. All right, I want to go to August 21st, 1859, at Ottawa, Illinois. And this is coming from Abraham Lincoln. He says, I hold that a Negro is not and never ought to be a citizen of the United States. I hold that this government was made on the white basis, by white men, for the benefit of white men and their posterity forever, and should be administered by white men and none others. I wonder how our president right now, Barack Obama, who in his 2008 run said that Lincoln was his favorite president. Anyway, August 14, 1862, quote unquote, to the Negroes at Washington. Even this is what he said to our people, y'all. I want you all to pay attention to this closely. Even when you cease to be slaves, you are yet far removed from being placed on an equality with white people on this broad continent. Not a single man of your race is made the equal of a single man of ours. Go where you are treated the best, and the ban is still upon you. I cannot alter it if I would. Such a statement is bone chilling. That's right. When you look at Moor, when you look at the way these Moors bigged up, I watched the thread Moor 2 days, 480 comments. These Moors bigged Abraham Lincoln up. Bigged him up. Made him as if he was the greatest thing that ever happened in the United States of America.
That's right. That's right, Moore. And I mean, it's unfortunate, Moore. It's unfortunate, and that's the whole thing why. And I think we talked about it earlier, Moore, that if we are to ever do things that we need to do as a nation and have the nations of the world, rather, or even let's just go with the United States of America, ever fully carry out what it's supposed to carry out for Moorish Americans, these actual myths and these teachings and these things that these guys are doing that's against the Prophet teachings, all of that information has to be exploded and suppressed.
It has to.
That's just my own personal opinion, because we can't be a nation and, you know, we having a guy go up in the college office telling people that he's enrolling his child in college and he don't have to pay for it because of the 13th Amendment with the 20 sections. We can't have that foolishness going on. Because people, these individuals take all of this into account, and
right.
They don't discriminate whether, this person is from there, this person is from the original Grand Party, or so on and so forth. They lump all of us together in one category. And then when we do make legitimate claims more, they say, that's some crazy people with that foolishness.
That's right, more.
Legitimate Moors.
No, go ahead, more.
So when individuals come with the sensible information, it's already prejudicial against us because of individuals who putting out this false information. It's not that we're saying that Richardson Dingle Ale was a bad person, or Timothy Dingle Ale was a bad person, or this one is a bad person. The bottom line is that this information is just flawed.
That's it. It's a flawed demonstration. And what we're doing, we believe should be the remedy. The prophet said, don't put the European on your brother. There's a history of Moors who have taken other Moors to court in the movement over who is the original this and who is the original that. The brother Rasadiel just took some Moors to court. The word came to the wire. I don't know the exact nature of everything, but the federal judge dismissed that case. Why not do it this way, right? Why not have an open challenge to Moorish Americans that promote some of these ideas? If you are what you say that you are, step up to the plate. We don't have to do it on Blog Talk Radio. Let's be men. Let's find a designated place. Let's go to Chicago. Let's pick a neutral spot. Let's bring in neutral judges who have no dog in this race, no pony in this race, or however that terminology goes. Let's bring them in. We can get guys from the Afrocentric community that don't like us at all. But let them sit there and say, only thing we want you to judge is the facts based on the records that we're going to present on this screen. That's it. We don't have to take each other to court, because the truth is going to shine forth, and truth is on the scene in this day and time. And with that, I want to make a plug real quick and say, if you are desiring to proclaim your nationality, please find your nearest Moorish Science Temple of America and go proclaim your nationality. I stress that, because our prophet said, if you do nothing else, proclaim your nationality. If somebody tells you that nationality costs, you have to buy paperwork, that's not a Moorish Science Temple of America at all. At all. Not at all. We have established something on our website at www.moorishsciencetemple.org. We have disabled our application process for the time being as we contemplate a merger with one of the grand bodies. We are in negotiations right now. In the meantime, however, if you are looking to understand some of the information that Prophet Noble Drew Ali brought and our expounding on that information based on the historical record and a little bit of our opinion or theory, then please peruse the rest of the information on that site, www.moorishsciencetemple.org. The blog talk shows, one of the sister Kenyatta Orset Bay. I want to give a shout out to the sister. She's in labor right now, expecting her second one. I want to give a shout out to her and the brother Samuel Bacote Bay, who's serving as the assistant Grand Sheik in our temple group. I want to give a shout out to the Moors. Those are some good Moors right there. And I love the Moors. I love all the Moors in our group. Shout out to brothers like Shante Finley L, brothers like Terrain L, even those that's kind of on the gate, but they still feeling what we doing. We love y'all too. Shout out to y'all. We feel that if we keep bringing the truth home on everything that we teach on, there's going to be no doubt left. There's not going to be any confusion left in the minds of those who do believe. I also want to state that we will be starting a tour at the beginning of the year featuring myself, Sheikway L, a.k.a. Lord Abba, Philly, Delaware, Harlem, Atlanta, Dallas, Los Angeles, and Ohio. One of my brothers is putting that together right now. Every stop we go, we are going to register brothers and sisters in the Moorish American Party. We are going to teach civics. We are going to teach Moorish science. We are going to teach health and wealth. And more importantly, we're going to teach you the knowledge of yourself, the higher self and the lower self, by simply giving you that which Prophet Noble Drew Ali already gave. And so my brother, Dr. Gabriel Hernandez, will be assisting me in that. He's putting a book together now on wellness and health. My brother, Shante Finley L, is putting a book together on true mortgage and loan information. We're working, Moors. I'm doing my part. I'm putting several books together right now. One of the books that just came to my attention is a book breaking down the gang symbology, Moorish science in the streets. And I urge some of my brothers that have some of that knowledge, some of my brothers that I've spoken with, to hit me up. I would love to collaborate with you on that particular book. What better way to reach those Moors in the streets and in the prison than to give them a book breaking down their symbolism from a Moorish science perspective. And when they get out, the only thing they're going to do is seek the Moorish Science Temple of America, because they're going to say, nobody has ever broke down what we do like this at all. Let's go see what these brothers is talking about. We are kicking it up a notch, Moors. As simple as that. Y'all call me to Facebook more. That's fine. I love that. Because at the end of the day, I reach thousands. And when we get out there in the streets, then what are you going to call me? In the street more? Or you'll find something new to say. So real quick, I just want to put... Yeah, Islam.
Islam more. My apologies, And, for my own sake more, I just have to make the caveat more that as far as this, and my participation in this demonstration, is strictly based upon the 13th Amendment and the 20 sections, and no actual conversation regarding grand body, if you will, because I have my own knowledge on that. We could deal with that on another show. Seeing what I've seen more and my knowledge and study more, that the home office of the Moorish Science Temple of America is located in Chicago, and that Braswell Bay is a lineal descent from Emil and Power of the Prophet's Moorish Science Temple of America. But I'm just here to deal with this demonstration to stop Asiatics from being hurt with this demonstration more. I would like to add to that, to get back to the topic more, that they what they talk about, this initial, what they call the initial Emancipation Proclamation, that they try to tie in to the 13th Amendment with the 20 sections, because I have the initial Emancipation Proclamation issued from September 22nd, 1862, that they try to use more. Let me see some. I'm trying to get my notes straight here, but that actual initial emancipation, nowhere in that demonstration Declaration does it say anything about compensating the former slaves of the people of the Confederacy. It does mention, however, compensating the slaveholders for their slaves, but it says absolutely nothing about the fact that formerly enslaved Asiatics had to be compensated.
It's so hilarious. It's really hilarious because this Moorish science is supposed to make you. It is supposed to elevate your thought. That's what it did for me. It elevated my thought. Excuse me. It elevated the way I spoke, the way I presented information, the way I took in information. It made me use my reasoning faculty. It made me use the faculty of discernment. It made me use that realm of real intelligence. That's what this Moorish science is. That's what it's about. That's what it's always been about. Not just when Prophet Noble Drew Ali brought it, but when Freemasons adopted it and made it theirs. When Rosicrucians adopted it, made it theirs. When the schools in Rome and Greek, India, going all the way back to ancient Egypt, when they adopted it and made it theirs, it elevated the level of thought within man. And this is why our particular people are special among the races of men. This is why we did what we did in Spain, elevating a degree of mathematical exactitude in our edifices that we built to show our links to ancient Egypt. And this is what Islam helped do. It helped bring us back to contentment. It helped solidify us as one people, many different shades, but one people, the human race. So, with that said, we're going to get into reading. And don't worry, Moors, we coming to the lines. I only got one caller with their hand up right now. So I'm guessing that the people that I hoped would call in. But it appears that they're not going to call in. So I don't know. We'll see who that caller is after we go run through these sections. Now, here's the proof, people, that the 13th Amendment with 20 sections is a pro-slavery document. Section 1. No, excuse me. We're going to skip. We're just going to read the pro-slavery stuff. Section 2. The use of the public press shall not be obstructed, but criminal publications made in one state against the lawful institutions of another state shall not be allowed, which basically means, though we may have slaves in this state, if you write about it in those northern states, you're going to face criminal prosecution. and more, after I read any of these sections, if you want to have anything to say, just jump in more.
Islam.
Section 3, the right of citizens to free and lawful speech in public assemblies shall not be denied. Access of citizens to the ballot box shall not be obstructed, either by civil or military power. If you understand what that means, either by civil or military power, because in 1861, and this is something that the brother Sharif Bey taught on my show, on the Red Pill and Blue Pill show, in March of 1861, military power took over this whole kit and caboodle, if I can use that term. And so they knew, look at what they said, the right of citizens to free and lawful speech and public assemblies shall not be denied. Access of citizens to the ballot box shall not be obstructed either by civil or military power. The military shall always be subordinate to the existing judicial authority over citizens. The privilege of the right of habeas corpus shall never be suspended in the presence of the judicial authority, meaning that the military power will never have the power to suspend the writ of habeas corpus, that military power that we're under right now. For those who do not know, you see, this is real civics, Moors. This is not that Great Seal, Moore's Order of the Round Table. This is real civics based on what actually happened and what went on, and proper interpretations of them, not based on just our understanding, but based on the historical records. Section 4, Islam. The militia of a state or of the United States shall not be employed to invade the lawful rights of the people of any of the several states, but the United States shall not be hereby deprived of the right and power to defend and protect its property and rights within the limits of any of the states. What they are speaking about.
Boy. Okay, you got it. Yes, sir.
Yeah, no, I was going to say what they were speaking about is, federal government, y'all stay over there. What we do in our states, y'all ain't got no say. So this is what they fought the 13th Amendment for.
With the 20 sections, right? Islam, the 13th Amendment with the 20 sections, and this section 4, just this part right here, more. But the United States shall not be hereby deprived of the rights and power to defend and protect its property and rights within the limits of any of the states. So it is what you just stated is the only thing that I add to it more is the fact that, if this would have passed, this was been the compromise so they can keep what they had after the war. But more, please let me read Section 5.
Oh, please, beloved, please.
Section 5. Persons held to service or labor for life in any state under the laws thereof may be taken into any territory of the United States south of north latitude 3030, and the right to such service or labor shall not be impaired thereby, and the territorial legislature thereof shall have the exclusive right to make and shall make all needful rules and regulations for the protection of such rights and also for the protection of such persons. But Congress or any territorial legislator shall not have power to impair or abolish such right of service in said territory while in the territorial condition without the consent of all the states south of said latitude which maintain such service. And service is with the capital S in that demonstration. So basically what they were saying in this provision is the strongest proof of our case, Brother Wade Ill, that this document in itself has no intent on restoring any Asiatics to any national standard, but to keep us in servitude.
The language more is so clear. I don't understand. This is the part that baffles me. How can you claim to be a man of any form of intellect and read this and not see that it is a pro-slavery document? All right, let's move on. We want to get through this, and we want to just really, we're gonna end this thing. I'm gonna let my brother Grimion L do the pleasures of ending this argument after we read this thing with a specific document that the brother has in his possession that he forwarded to me, and I'm gonna post a link to that in the chat so that you may all read it for those of you that are in the chat. And I'm gonna do a note on this on the website, on our website, www.moorishsciencetemple.org, so you'll be able to review it in detail with breakdowns. Okay, Section 6. All of this stuff is funny to me. I mean, literally, when I was reading this, I was just laughing, sitting there cracking up laughing. Section 6. Involuntary servitude, except for crime, shall not be permanently established within the district set apart from the seat of government of the United States. But the right of sojourn in such district with persons held to service or labor for life shall not be denied. This document, Moors, this 13th Amendment with 20 sections. This particular section 6 is saying that wherever there are already persons held to service with a capital S, of labor with a capital L, for life with a capital L, shall not be denied where they sojourn. It's clear that where these people are already servants, they're to remain servants. Period. But we'll break all of that down. Let's move on. Section 7. When any territory of the United States south of north latitude 3630 shall have a, let me explain what 3630 is. Though 3630 is north, the northern states above Virginia. They add Virginia. The terminology is 3630 plus Virginia. And everything else upwards is the northern states, which are not the slave states, even though our people were actually, by historical accounts, treated worse up there than they were in the South. But let me continue. Let me start over. Section 7. When any territory of the United States south of north latitude 36 degrees 30 shall have a population equal to the ratio of representation for one member of Congress, and the people thereof shall form the Constitution for a republican form of government, it shall be admitted as a state into the Union on an equal footing with the other states, and the people may, in such constitution, either prohibit or sustain the right to involuntary labor or service and alter or amend the Constitution at their will. This to me is saying that, and please correct me if I'm wrong, if I read this, if I'm interpreting this wrong, that let's just say a new state south of 3630 was to be formed. If that state formed and had its own constitution, it can also provide slavery. This is a pro-confederation document. And it was just an attempt to allow these Southerners to maintain a portion of institutional slavery, people. Just how can you not see this? I mean, it's just baffling to me.
Right. Islam, more. And now I just want to add to it more that when Lincoln freed their slaves, you know, he may have had some slights toward the institution of slavery, if you will. We're not going to deny that. However, when Lincoln freed the slaves, it had absolutely nothing to do with any type of moral standard. That was he did that to cripple the Confederacy because the Confederacy's power and wealth was based upon chattel human property. I mean, think about if you can get a human being to do something for you perpetually for free. I mean, could you imagine the type of economy that you would have?
Well, Section 8. Well, go ahead, more.
No, so when Lincoln abolished, or rather the Civil War led to the abolishment of slavery, he did that more to cripple their power base, because that's always been their power base. And remember what we said earlier in the show behind them kicking the can down the road? That ensured that the can wouldn't be kicked down the road anymore, and that these people wouldn't be controlling the government because of their power with the influx of human chattel property. Islam.
That's right. Islam. Now, look at what you just said, Moore. What you just said is a preemptive to Section 8 of this Constitution, this constitutional amendment. It is a preemptive point because look at what it says in Section 8. The present right of representation in Section 2, Article 1 of this Constitution shall not be altered without the consent of all the states maintaining the right to involuntary service or labor south of latitude 36 degrees 30. But nothing in this Constitution or its amendments shall be construed to deprive any state south of said latitude 36 degrees 30 of the right of abolishing involuntary servitude at its will.
Islam.
More. How, more? How do they not see this, beloved?
Exactly.
How can you?
It's almost illogical, more, that you can derive any type of concept of freedom or emancipation for the Asiatics in America out of this document. This document and the usage of it in itself is against the teachings of the Holy Prophet Noble Drew Ali.
Ooh, I'm gonna skip to section 11. It says, as a right of comity between the several states south of latitude 36 degrees 30, the right of transit with persons held to involuntary labor or service from one state to another shall not be obstructed, but such persons shall not be brought into the states north of said latitude.
Right.
What they just said was that if I want to take my slave from Georgia to South Carolina, or from South Carolina to Texas, or we, by this particular section in this amendment, have the power to do so. But none of our people shall be brought up north. This is what the Dred Scott case was about. Because his master moved from one of the slave states to one of the north. More. This is Moorish American Civics 101. How can somebody that knows what the Prophet brought study cases like the Dred Scott case and not see something like this, more? Every one of these I read off, I'm more and more baffled and more confused. And the Prophet's word, his words, if you are not careful, your own brother will put you right back in slavery. It just pounds me in the back of my mind like a mallet.
Islam, more. That's correct. And if I can, more, I don't, stop me if I'm jumping the gun. But even with these individuals that actually espouse this particular philosophy of the 13th Amendment with the 20 sections, and the brother that you called that called you, if you look back on the whole Sarah Seti debacle, it's all right if I mention that, more.
Oh, sure, more, sure.
If you go back to the whole Sarah Seti debacle and him coming against the Moorish Science Temple of America, it was based upon the actual ideas and concepts of these individuals that made him think, well, you know what, man, this Moorish Science Temple stuff is weak. I smell blood. I'm about to propel myself into stardom by attacking these guys because they don't have no base or foundation. Because the actual guy that called you, the actual video itself is still on YouTube while Sarah Seti was doing his rant, and he got overpowered by Seti. He sat there on that couch, man, like a little, God forgive me, a little child, more. And these are the same individuals that are espousing this 13th Amendment with the 20 section as an initial emancipation in this compensated emancipation demonstration.
That's just a perfect analogy.
So if you want to go back to the whole Sarah Seti demonstration, you just go back to those people who teaching these fallacies that we talking about right now.
It makes the movement look bad, more. And this is why brothers like us have stepped up. This is why I asked brothers like Sharif and Al Bay to come on the show. And I was so glad that the Red Pill and them opened up their show to bring the brother on. You know, just so glad that they brought that brother on, because their audience dwarfs our audience. We know that. But for them to get a glimpse of what real Moorish science is about, man, look, I just want to give a shout out to my brother Sharif Anal Bey for teaching real Moorish science. Okay, let's. I want to move through this so that, because it's 10:29, even though we got a whole extra hour after the show, I want to try to get some of these questions in before the live stream stops. So this is something that I overlooked, because I cited Section 12 of this particular argument. I mean, this particular demonstration before. So it's imperative. It's just so imperative that we understand what we're about to read right here. Section 12 states that the traffic in slaves with Africa, people, everybody that's listening, I want you to pay real close attention to this. It says at Section 12, the traffic in slaves with Africa is hereby forever prohibited on pain of death and the forfeiture of all the rights and property of persons engaged therein. And the descendants of Africans shall not be citizens. I just want to read that back real quick. The traffic in slaves with Africa is hereby forever prohibited on pain of death and the forfeiture of all the rights and property of persons engaged therein, and the descendants of Africans shall not be citizens. Moors. This is vital.
Teachings.
That's against the prophet's teaching. You got these Moors. Now I got to call a name here. Brothers like Taj Tariq Bey and some of these other Moorish groups, Queen Ranita Bahisi, whatever her name was. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. Forgive me if I sound that way. But they are the ones that propose this anti-Africanness in the Moorish movement. The prophet mentions Africa many times in our Moorish Quran.
Islam, go in it more.
That's right, that the descendants of Africa that's in this nation still have much wisdom to learn. He spoke about the descendants of Africa, the inhabitants of Africa. He taught the Moors that Amexem was the true and divine name of Africa. In one article, one of the Moorish American Muslims say Amexem, the land where the gods love to dwell. He bigged up the continent that we Moorish American Muslims know as Africa. So we got to do this, Moors, because it's brothers like that, like the brother, the more formerly known as Moorish Brooklyn, who claimed that we was Hebrew Moors. He said because Jesus was born in North America.
Islam.
Look, I'm not gonna try to confirm or deny the brother's claim, but to make a statement like that sounds like one of those Horace Butler statements. That brother that wrote the book where he just showed references to some stuff, but never show where or any of the maps or anything with this whole cult following that they have going on. But that sounds like that Horace Butler demonstration. Islam. Jesus was born in North America, and so, look, Moors, if you're going to make those claims, back them up.
Yes, indeed, Moor.
Just back them up.
Then back them up. Back them up with the prophet's teachings, because the prophet said that we was the descendants of the inhabitants of Africa, a pure and clean nation.
That's right.
So I mean, it is what it is. That's what the prophet said. If you ain't coming with what the prophet said, you shouldn't even be talking about no Moorish Science Temple of America or any Moors, because I mean this stuff has injured so many people. We're talking about the illogical parts of it, of them claiming salvation through this document, more, but we're not talking about all the people that they done sent into the world, people who done lost freedom, people who done lost their jobs, their cars, their homes, their families, were trying to invoke this foolishness.
That's right.
People who done lost money on the road because, I mean, this is really what needs to be addressed. And it's just time, Moore. But did we finish going through the 13th Amendment with the
Well, no,
section?
I want to read Section 17, and because that is just crazy, and we're gonna leave it there. And I want you to get into that document. I just want to read Section 17. This stuff is crazy. I can't believe it more. Okay, Section 17. Whenever any state wherein involuntary servitude is recognized or allowed shall propose to abolish such servitude and shall apply for pecuniary assistance therein, the Congress may, in its discretion, grant such relief not exceeding $100 for each person liberated, but Congress shall not propose such abolishment or relief to any state.
Right.
The second part of this section says, Congress may assist free persons of African descent to immigrate and colonize Africa.
Islam. And there's a lot of meat in that demonstration for us to discuss real quick. Now, one thing that stands out more is this article right here is nothing more than the argument that some Southerners still have today, or states' right demonstration. So pretty much this article said, you know what, Congress, y'all can't pass no law, write no law to tell us what to do with our human chattel property. That's pretty much what this is saying in this part right here. It says the Congress may, in its discretion, grant such relief not exceeding, you was 17, right?
Yes.
Islam? So pretty much what they were saying is that Congress can't deal with that demonstration. That's something that they should do. But if they abolish this demonstration, we'll pay them. But that's y'all choice. That's pretty much what this demonstration is saying.
Well, for me, when I read it, it's basically saying that if we abolish it, meaning the state,
right? The state,
it says whenever,
meaning the state.
Now,
right.
But look what it's saying. That's so slick. It's saying now Congress may, in its discretion, grant such relief not exceeding $100 for each person liberated, meaning we not going to come out of pocket. But if y'all want to give them $100, y'all could more. Are they serious? The people
but you know what, more? This is not. When they say $100 for each person liberated, that money is not going to the slave. That money is going to the slave owner. Because if you read what they call a preliminary Emancipation Proclamation, Lincoln said that they would be compensated for the loss of property, including slaves. But there is never, ever in here any conversation that this is the thing, Moore. I know we're going to get into the Dingwell letter as well. I don't want to jump the gun. It's their condition that, okay, we took your human chattel property, so we're going to pay you for your human chattel property, and that the slave masters were supposed to pay us after the United States government paid the slave master. That's the premise of the Moorish American National Republic. But you can't justify that by this. They was just saying, you know what, the Asiatics was on their own, but out of my respect for you and disempowering you by taking your human property away, which was the source of your wealth, I'm going to give you $100 for each one that was freed. That's all they saying, Moore.
That is just, that's crazy. That is it makes you I'll just grab my dreads more and just pull them. It's one of those joints that make you pull your hair.
Islam. And that's correct. And that last sentence Congress may assist free persons of African descent to immigrate and colonize Africa. And you said something earlier, more. The prophet said it's not no back to Africa move.
This is not no back to Africa move. This is what the prophet said.
The holy prophet Noble Drew Ali was about to dig. Well, he did dig in. We have no intentions on going nowhere. So if you advocate this document say, hey, you know, we know y'all free, y'all gonna be a problem, so on and so forth. We gonna help you immigrate and colonize Africa. And don't say, though, the United States of America is, or the continent of North America is Africa. Because for you to say that is to say that the people who wrote this law understood that this landmass that we on, North America, is Africa, and that was not their understanding.
And that's
they would talk about send them back over there.
More. That's why you see these Moors trying to call this Northwest a Mexam. Noble Drew Ali never called the Americas a Mexam. He never called Northwest America Northwest a Mexam. He called it's clear in our Moorish Quran, chapter 47, verse 3, I believe it is, when he says Africa, its true and divine name. In the
right.
question there, I believe it's question 33. What is question 33? What is, man, I can't call it verbatim, excuse me, Moors. I can't call it, but I assure you it's question 33, where the prophet is asking what is the true name of Mexam, and excuse me, what is the true name of Africa, and that it's a Mexam. He didn't say America. It just common sense, Moors. Common sense. Now,
right.
Islam.
That's correct, Moor. That's
Islam.
That's what the Islam. Excuse me, Moor. That's what the Moors. You know, the Holy One said. You know, what's the modern name for a Mexican? Africa.
Simple. Simple,
you know?
Moor. Just simple, Moor. This is not rocket science. Don't tell me this is what the prophet really meant when he said, oh, you gonna tell me what he really meant. Huh. Interesting. Okay,
right.
Now.
Right.
This is the capital.
That last, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Moore.
No, go ahead. What you was gonna say, Moore?
Deal with that last section, the 20th section of this 13th Amendment of the 20 sections.
Okay, I'm just typing in the chat real quick, telling everybody.
I tell you what, Moore. I'll read section 19 and 20 more while you do that.
Okay, go ahead, Moore.
With your permission, Moore.
No, go ahead, Moore. You co-hosted with me tonight, Moore.
Section 19, when all of the several states shall have abolished slavery, then and thereafter slavery or involuntary servitude, except as punishment for a crime, shall never be established or tolerated in any of the states or territories of the United States, and they shall be free forever. Pretty much this section is just saying if you all chose to abolish slavery, which they wasn't, because, I mean, they you know, that institution helped them have a stronghold on the federal government. Cotton was king. You know, they was able to, you know, if you type in a word Virginian luxuries and click image, you'll see a picture showing of what they, you know, benefit. They had free access to Asiatic women. They could dehumanize males if they wanted. They could do anything they want. So logic tell us that this was a provision that was put in there that they was never going to fulfill. And to say that because if you read the language of all of the rest of them, they didn't really have no intentions on freeing the slaves, or the so-called slaves, if this actual amendment would have passed. And I'm going to read Section 20. Section 20, Islam.
No, I was saying Islam. Go ahead, beloved.
Okay. Section 20, the provision of this article relating to involuntary labor or servitude shall not be altered without the consent of all the states maintaining such servitude.
Just
it's
okay.
Preposterous, boy.
So we have read most of the provisions of this article, and people, I'm going to make this available on the website, so y'all are going to be able to see it for yourself. We're going to give breakdowns to every article. This is a pro-slavery document. The Moors that are trying to get this passed, if they succeeded, Moors, they would put you right back into slavery. Read it for yourselves. But don't take our word for it. Don't take our word for it. We want you to hear what a United States senator had to say in this regard. So brother man, can you please read the particular correspondence between the Richardson Dingle L's group? I believe this is in response to Richardson Dingle L. If it's not, it's Timothy Dingle L. And Robert N.C. Nix. What is that? The 20th District of Pennsylvania of the Congress of the United States, House of Representatives, September 24th, 1974. Can you do the honors, beloved?
Islam, Moore. Absolutely not a problem. And to bring context to it more, this is the actual his legal his legislative aide, if you will, went and did the research on the claim that was actually made by the early members of the Moorish School of Law and History.
Wait, Islam. So when you say his aide, you're talking about this particular congressman, Mr. Nix.
Yes, sir. Mr. Nix, legislative aide by the name of Mark Stout, if you will.
Okay. Before you read, I'm gonna post the links in the chat for those that are in the chat room, so you can pull them up, and I want you to pass these around to everybody, because we're not gonna let y'all put our brothers back in slavery. Not on my watch.
Because more, this is exactly what this is. So, it almost begs the question that, did the prophet see these people in his time putting this demonstration together to make that statement that's reported that he had said? It all brings this stuff into perspective. Your own brother will put you back into slavery. And just to show you how this was a pro-slavery document, they took this demonstration. I hate to say it more. It's almost like I'm not going to say it, but what they did was they took their findings to the Southern congressmen and the Southern politicians more, and the Southern politicians entertained it for a second. The only reason they entertained it for a second is because they thought they was going to get paid. But nothing ever became of it because it didn't really have any merit, because none of those provisions was actually passed, and they knew it. But they would have put themselves back in slavery. But I'm gonna go ahead more and just read this demonstration. And this is the letterhead. Congress of the United States, House of Representatives, Washington, D.C. To Mr. Nix from Mark Stout, subject, Moorish Science Temple. The Moorish group sets forth a theory of racial origins of blacks, quote unquote. They believe that American blacks are Moors descended from an ancient Moroccan empire, and that subsequent names given to this people have been used to hide their true national identity. They rely on a number of documents, mostly from Reconstruction days, to support their three basic demands: compensated emancipation, naturalization of blacks, and colonization of blacks. I have obtained these documents and analyzed, and an analysis of these references is attached. compensated emancipation was indeed proposed by President Lincoln as a way of ending the Civil War. This proposal was unsuccessful. The Moorish group wants listen to this part, the Moorish group wants former slave owners compensated for the loss of their slaves, and former slaves compensated by their former owners.
Wait, because that is hilarious, Moore. What these Moors were proposing, what they were proposing was that the federal government not give the monies directly to them, but that the federal government give the money to the former slave owners, meaning the descendants of European slave owners. And then they, the former slaves, descendants of the former slaves, would then go ask the former slave owners for the money.
Islam.
If this is not the most preposterous, go ahead, Moore.
And with that, Moore, in order to carry this out, let's just say hypothetically, Moore, just for giggles, they were able to carry this out. Do you know that the amount of time and resources that it was going to take? Slavery was abolished in 1865. And this document is dated 1974 with the marriages and the changes of the names and people moving from here to there. Do you know the amount of research and man hours that it would take to track down every European family of the European nations and the actual slaves that they own, so that person in that time can compensate somebody else's family for something that they did way in slavery? I mean, am I making myself clear, More? I mean, the amount of time and money that it would take to find, let's say, Mr. Jones. Mr. Jones owned some slaves in 1861. These so-called Negroes were freed in 1865. They left, they went, they got married and went on. So pretty much in order for the so-called Negro Jones, in order to be compensated, they have to trace him back to a particular slave owner family. And that's not to mention the poor Europeans who didn't even own slaves, who married into subsequent families. I mean, the web can get deeper and deeper to the confusion of what this was caused if what they were saying was valid, More.
It's crazy. But let's get through this real quick, More, before the live stream ends. I want everybody to hear it that's not on the line. I want them to see how deep this particular rabbit hole goes.
Islam. They said the Moorish group argues that blacks were not made citizens by the 14th Amendment. They used the Dred Scott decision of 1856 as support for the contention that free blacks are not citizens. They believe that the federal government should set up a program of registration and naturalization to make blacks U.S. citizens. They also argue for the colonization of blacks between the Alleghenies and the Rockies. President Lincoln did support the idea of colonizing free blacks, but only once did he suggest that this might take place within the United States. So it wasn't a full consensus on where these people would go colonize if they were to pass colonization.
Islam, or I seen a source that I came across. It was either earlier today or yesterday that said they had a territory actually that they wanted to set up in Texas.
Islam. And then, they got some things where they said he wanted to send us to South America, back to Africa. And then that's not even counting the proposals for colonization by other congressmen.
That's
because
right.
There's another book called The Betrayal of the Negro that talks about that quagmire. But I'm going to read this real quick, More.
Wait, let me say, brother, Islam, Brother Sharif Bey just hit me up on the text. He told me to tell you, excellent find, More.
Oh man, tell a brother I said, man, praise Allah and thank you.
No, he listening. He listening.
Praise Allah, Islam.
Praise Allah.
A great deal of emphasis is placed on the proposed 13th Amendment with the 20 sections. They believe that this attachment was actually ratified and was replaced by a conspiracy with the present 13th Amendment with 2 sections. I have obtained the proposed amendment from the National Archives. Ironically, the amendment is a pro-slavery amendment. I hope the audience heard that. Which would have guaranteed the rights of slaveholders, enforced a fugitive slave law, and prevented the abolition of slavery without the approval of every slave state.
That's
One
what we
section,
just
however,
read. Islam. I just wanted to tell the people that's what we just read to y'all. Go ahead, Moore.
Islam. One section, however, does authorize Congress to compensate states that voluntarily abolish slavery and to assist free persons to colonize Africa. Get them out of here. That was my addition. The founder of the Moorish group, Sheikh Richardson Dingle L., supposedly got his plan for reclassifying and registering blacks approved by the Selective Service System. However, National Archives has been unable to locate any such document. Let me say something real quick. The Selective Service don't have any authority to do anything but register people for draft and military service and to register adult age fighting men. I mean, if I'm wrong, somebody please correct me. But the rest of it say more. The evidence used to back up the theory set forth the Moorish group is weak and often contradictory. Their present demands apparently offer Congress to oppose the 13th Amendment with the 20 sections and to set up a program of compensated emancipation and nationalization and colonization. This is the most important part, too, more, is to the gentleman put the references in there that he put in the references that they actually use. He lists them in his letter. And I don't know if we have time, but I'm gonna try to get it in real quick.
Well, we got. let me say real quick, more. We got 4 minutes left for the live stream. For those of you who are listening in the chat, please call in. No, excuse me. We got 2 minutes left. 2 minutes and 43 seconds for the live stream. For those of you who are in the chat that want to hear the rest of this show, this extremely important show, please call in the number 347-215-7987. If you don't call in, you're not going to be able to hear the rest of this show. And we got another hour to get it in. So we're going to go to the lines as well. After you make this point, I'm going to make 2 quick points. One of them is based on the second to last paragraph, and then I'm just going to bring up what the prophet said. Then I want to get I want to read something from Meliel. But go ahead, Moore.
It's Islam, Moore. I'm gonna go here, Moore. What I'm gonna do is this is the references that he used, more is kind of lengthy, so I don't want to take up the time. I'm gonna read just a couple of it. But I also wanted to add to the fact of the Moors with the Timothy Dingle L contribution. They got to realize that Timothy Dingle L and Richardson Dingle L worked hand in hand with this demonstration, and Dingle L did support this 13th Amendment with the 20 sections. But it says
so you're Islam, Moore.
Islam.
All right, you're about to read the sources that he was speaking about?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let me come in real quick, Moore. I just want to make these 2 points, and I'll read the rest of the stuff later. It says the founder of the Moorish group, Sheikh Richardson Dingwell, supposedly got his plan for reclassifying and registering blacks approved by the Selective Service System. However, the National Archives have been unable to locate any such document. These Moors claim that they have their proof the paper trail that shows and prove what they have is legitimate. The second point I want to make is on the last paragraph where it says the historical evidence used to back up their theories set forth by the Moorish group is weak and often contradictory. Their present demands apparently are for Congress to impose the 13th Amendment of 20 sections and to set up the program of compensated emancipation, naturalization, and colonization. I want to bring our listening audience to what the prophet said. I want to bring you to the prophet because they said what these brothers proposed was weak. But look at what the prophet said. He said, you who doubt whether I, the prophet, and my principles are right for the redemption of my people, go to those that know law in the city hall and among the officials in your government and ask them under an intelligent tone, and they will be glad to render you a favorable reply. For they are glad to see me bring you out of darkness into light. Money doesn't make the man. It is free national standards and power that makes a man and a nation. I'm writing a book called The Ordinance of Allah, where I'm extracting the laws of the Quran of Muhammad, and we're giving our interpretation to those laws based on the provision that we draw our power and authority from the great Quran of Muhammad. And I just want to say this real quick. I put together a note on the picture to that book on my Facebook page, and you'll find it where it speaks, and I spoke about it on the show. The convention at The Hague determined that Muslim law was its own autonomous body of law. It's an internationally recognized body of law. The great Quran of Muhammad, to summarize, is a legal document that's recognized in international law. So what I did was gave a little breakdown. And one of my brothers, I'm not going to say his name right now, passed it to a lawyer and asked him, is this right? And the lawyer looked at it and analyzed it and said, yes, this is right. So when the prophet says, go to those that know law, this is what we're doing, Moors, behind the scene. We're gonna, Moorish America is gonna raise up. It's simple as that. But please continue, beloved.
Islam, Moor. I was looking it over, but I can forward these to you, Moor. It's kind of lengthy, but the point, I just want to put something out there real quick. Just his last reference. He says the proposed 13th Amendment to the Constitution with the 20 sections. This was a pro-slavery amendment, section 12. Section 17 would allow for financial compensation by Congress for states abolishing slavery and would authorize Congress to assist free people of African descent to immigrate and civilize, quote unquote, Africa. See, it's the same things, more. I want to go to this Timothy Dingle L letter, just for the folks who think that, that Dingle L or try to put out there that Dingle L didn't deal with this situation. This letter from Dingle L, Brother Dingle L, is January 29th, 1971. It's a lengthy letter, but we could provide it for anybody that want to see it. This is what he says. Brethren, the President directed a 7-point plan guaranteeing justice to the South. So see, warranted justice to the South. Although he was impeached, but that didn't change the law. It is our desire for you at this point to look in President Abraham Lincoln's proclamation of September 22nd, 1862. You will find an executive will, and in that will, in due time, all slaveholders is to be compensated for all losses by acts of the United States, including the loss of a slave, which is classified as property.
Wow.
So our senses teach us that if you can buy something, you become the owner of it, and you can dispose of it in any way you deem necessary. Timothy Dingle L. He said, we say we as a race are free. We say we as a race are free, But how can we truthfully say that when the executive will have never been carried out? And as long as that is not carried out, we still belong to the slaveholders, their property. And the fourth section of the fourth article of the Constitution of the United States guaranteed to protect a citizen's property. I mean, imagine what Sarah Sutton-Seti would have did if he would have got his hands on this.
More. Do you know how powerful that just was? Now, that's Timothy Dingle L. for everybody that claims that, oh, Timothy Dingle L., he wasn't moving with that type of demonstration. Well, his letter is clear, and we're going to make these things available. I'm going to do this on the website. So it's going to be clear. Everybody's going to see it. But what's so profound about what you said, Moore, is that it negates, it undermines, let me use that word, it obviates, it abrogates everything that Prophet Noble Drew Ali said. He said that these slave titles, Negro, Black, and Colored, lasted from 1774 to 1865 during the times of slavery. That this is a new time. When he says during the time of slavery, he's putting a time frame on 1774 or 1779 to 1865. What that brother Timothy Dingle L. just said, and what Richard Dingleson L. just proposed, was that Noble Drew Ali didn't free us. This is what the brother said to me on the phone, Moore. He said, what, you think we can just go take out a nationality card in the Moorish Science Temple of America and that's it? They do not believe in what Prophet Noble Drew Ali brought to our people. I'm sorry if this show offended you. We had no intention on disrespecting anybody. Our intention, however, was to show and prove that these two ideologies contrast each other. So it doesn't matter if you're a sheik that lives the life of a Muslim and you go to Sunday school and Friday meetings and you pay your dues and you're into it, your wife, your children, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. If this is the core of what you believe, beloved, you wear a tinseled coat. We have to be honest. We just have to be honest. Now, and I want to read something real quick, and we're gonna go to the line, Moore.
Moore, check this out. Let me finish this real quick. It says it clearly states that the slaveholders never got paid for you, making you steal their property, and the only way that you can be free from the slaveholders, the executive will of President Lincoln must be carried out. You become federal property. The government will change your status, set you free, and make citizens out of you, so you can enjoy the blessings of the Constitution of the United States. And if the government don't do so, you still would be a slave. And the Section 9 of Article 1 of the Constitution of the United States will be violated because no slaveryism is to be in existence after 1808. So this just verified what you said, that this whole concept itself does not fit in the framework of the Prophet, Moore. And he directly references in his letter the 1320. I just wanted to say that, Moore.
If you are not careful, your own brothers will put you back into slavery. For those of you that were considering joining that folly, and I have to call it that because that's what it is, them Moors are trying to put you back into slavery and really don't deserve the honorable title of Moor or Muslim. And I guess that's why the Prophet said true Moors. I like to use the term fake Moor, but I'm not going to go there. So this comes from the Moorish School of Law and History, October 23rd, 1975, by Richardson Dingle L., who calls himself, by the way, or calls himself Noble Drew Ali III. Now, because I want this to be clear for everybody that's listening in. He says, be it known to all whom it may concern, that it has been approved by Prophet Noble Drew Ali November 30th, 1940, the founder of the Moorish Science Temple of America, who at this time lives at 447 East 40th Street, Chicago, Illinois, that I, Richardson Dingle L., have been approved by Prophet Noble Drew Ali to carry out a system which I have founded of having all the records of the Moorish American Muslims changed throughout the USA, etc. The point that I want to point out to the people is that Prophet Noble Drew Ali passed physical form, Moors, July 20th, 1929. This man says that be it known to all whom it may concern that it has been approved by Prophet Noble Drew Ali, November 30th, 1940, the founder of the Moorish Science Temple of America. You see, this is what the Prophet said about following the mere ideas of man who have never led us anywhere but downward. Now, I want to read, because what he's talking about is this notion that Prophet Noble Drew Ali's spirit entered into a man named John Givens L., because this was something that the more formerly known as Moorish Brooklyn brought up. He was like, we can trace our line of sheiks back. I said, well, trace your line of sheiks back. So he started with E. Turner L., the father of F. Turner L., and then he went, I said more. What you fail to realize is that Prophet Noble Drew Ali left E. Meliel in charge of his flock.
Islam.
This is an actual fact. So I want to read this letter from E. Meliel, October 24th, 1933, addressing a brother named J.H. Graham Bay in Baltimore, Maryland. It says, my dear brother, I am quite sure you received my last letter. And did you see where I told you don't pay any further attention to those lies of John Givens L.? He said, it's J. Givens L. Let me quote it exact. When he tells you, and whoever else who will believe his lies, that he is our great prophet reincarnated in the flesh. You people surely have good sense, or have you walked in an illusion and think you are right? There is no difference in Givens now than it was 6 months ago. And he was saying those same things then, only worse, because then he called himself Allah. Now he calls himself Drew Ali reincarnated in the flesh. All who believe him are lost, according to the words of Noble Drew Ali, our holy prophet. Peace, your brother in Islam, E. Meliel, Supreme Grand Sheikh. So the man was stating that those of you who believe this man have walked into an illusion. Y'all are in the twilight zone. Those of you that believe that the spirit of the prophet moved in any of the Dingle L brothers. Again, Moorish Quran teaches us are not thy enemies made by truth greater than those the friends made by flattery. I'm here to serve humanity. I'm not here to be y'all's friend. I'm here to tell the prophet's truth and his side of the story. You Moors have walked into an illusion and are in the twilight zone and are stuck there and cannot verify your claims. That's why the brother denied coming on the show to present his side of the story. None of the sheiks, I'm guessing, I'm hoping this is somebody on the line. Did you have something to say before I went to this call?
More the only thing that I have to say is that letter from Richardson Dingle Ill is backed up by Timothy Dingle Ill, because he also makes reference to a prophet Noble Drew Ali in the 1940s. More, so we know who they was talking about, and it wasn't the holy one. They was talking about John Givens Ill, more, and no disrespect. No disrespect. And that's where they took their concepts from, because the whole thing about it, more just to show you how illogical it is, both brothers said that he was the prophet Noble Drew Ali.
That's right. Timothy Dingle L. Prophet Noble Drew Ali and Richardson Dingle L. Noble Drew Ali III. This is people that have their own vision. If they meant well, then we honor them if they meant well. But we cannot honor the fact that what they presented wasn't well. It was flawed. And anybody who promotes, pushes that ideology today, you are doing a disservice to this Moorish movement. And if I'm wrong, please let us set up a debate. I'll come to where you're at. I'll come to Baltimore. I'll come to New York. That's where I'm from. Let us sit down in front of a group, a neutral group, and see who's right. Noble Drew Ali or the Dingle L brothers following what they claim were the dictates of Givens L. If you are not careful, your own brother will put you right back into slavery. This is what it was reported that our prophet said, and that is exactly what those documents and what these brothers that are pushing those documents and that ideology are trying to do, put my brothers and my sisters right back into slavery. So with that, I want to go to this caller, area code 865, ending in 3365. Islam, welcome to Moorish Science Radio. You're on the air. Islam?
I rise, giving praise to Allah, Father of the universe, and giving honors to our illustrious prophet, Noble Drew Ali. And I'm giving honors to everybody that's in attendance, and I'm giving honors to the panel, and especially Brother Lord Albo, this is our cool Malakael.
Islam.
Islam. I just want to touch on a little something what y'all was speaking about in reference to the documentations. And the prophet made it clear when he said that if the Italians and the Greeks, the English, Chinese, Japanese, Turks, and Arabians are forced to proclaim their free national name and religion before the constitutional government of the United States of America, it is no more than right that the law should be enforced upon all other American citizens alike. And all other governments, when a man is born and raised there and asks for his national descent name, and if he fails to give it, he is misnomered, imprisoned, or exiled. Because to be a citizen of any government, you must claim your national descent name, because they place their trust upon issue and names formed by their forefathers. The reason why I read that is because this statement brings the surface of our national lives. It applies to every nation attached to the human family, bar Negro, black, colored people. And also it requires that after nationality, after birth, will become entitled to U.S. citizenship by choice and acceptance does not apply to NBC. So in that 13th Amendment, although it abolished the institution of slavery, also conditionally re-legalized slavery, e.g. upon those duly convicted of the U.S. crimes, 14th Amendment. It gave the U.S. courts and states assumable jurisdiction ownership of NBC, not of Moors. It was a key that's in our 101s when the prophet is asked.
When you say NBC, Islam, I'm confused. What do you mean when you say NBC?
Negroes, black, colored. You know,
the reason why let me say Islam, or let me say, when I hear more say NBCs in reference to Negroes, blacks, and colors, I always go back to chapter 47, verse 9, where the prophet said Allah did not make such a thing as a Negro, black, or colored. So even by us alluding to them as NBCs, we help to enforce the European psychology. And I pray that all Moors remove that type of lingo from their everyday discourse, because it actually goes against the will of our prophet. Islam?
Even so, whether saying NBC or Negro, black, and color, I think we both understand the point I'm making. The point is this. We both know and can agree to that the NBC or the Negro, Black, or Colored are fixtures and marks placed upon our people whom were Al-Moroccans, born in America. And Al-Morocca, the name, ancient name of Al-Morocc is Al-Morocc, America.
Prove it.
So when the prophet was clear these...
Islam.
Wait a minute, let me finish.
Wait, no.
Let me finish.
Islam, when you come on Moorish Science Radio and you make a claim, you're gonna have to back that claim up. We don't do the run-on sentences. Can you show it?
Let me finish speaking, and I can tie it in, and then you can understand my point of view. Even though your point of view don't seem the same.
Islam.
Even though you keep cutting me off, and I'm not finished speaking. You ask.
All right, let me put you on mute because this is Moorish Science Radio, and when the host says, just pause for a minute, and you try to talk over the host, I gotta put you on mute, and I would expect anybody on their talk show to do the same thing if I did the same thing. When you come on Moorish Science Radio, and I want this to be clear for anybody listening, and you make a claim, and you get called on that claim, no continuing. You got to show and prove, because then the people that do not know, they believe what you're saying. They believe what you say. And we don't do that here. If you say that the name America comes from the word Al-Morocc, which has been proposed by what I call fringe Moorish groups, you got to first show and prove before you do anything, because everything you say after that is irrelevant on Moorish Science Radio. And we don't do that here, beloved. So I'm going to open your mic back up, and I just want you to explain to myself and the people how Al-Morocc translate to the word America. Give us the etymological sources. Give us the proof. Give us some sort of primary or contemporaneous documentation that shows and proves such.
Right.
Islam, you're on the air.
Islam. I appreciate you giving me a chance to be able to speak. The prophet stated in the 101s that we are descendants of Moroccans born in America. When you go back, not looking up under the European etymology of the word, but what the ancient name of was before 1776, America claimed their independence in 1776, and the foreign occupiers came here in 1492. The ancient name was Al-Morocc, which is a translation of America. If you do the research,
let me stop you. Islam, I just want to stop you. I'm going to let you continue. Now, when anybody goes to Avalon, Yale.avalon.edu, look up the Barbary Treaty, look up the Treaty of Peace and Friendship between Morocco and the United States, 1786, right? When the Moroccans, the Sultan of Morocco and his diplomatic liaison, Tahir Finish, is referencing America, they call it Americanos. They do not call it Al-Morocc. Let us use reason here. Reason avers that if this was the original name, Al-Morocc of America, that the Sultan of Morocco would have called it Al-Morocc. He wouldn't have called it the Estados Americanos, which means the United States of America or the States of America. That's what it says, Estados Americanos. So simply just show and prove. My brother just sent me a text, but I want you to show and prove how this word was anciently Al-Morocc was anciently called America. I just want you to show and prove where Al-Morocc and America link up, and where do we find this in any Moorish literature?
Islam, that's right.
Islam. The prophet said the ancient name is Al-Moroccans.
Where did he say that?
Let me finish. It's in the 101. Al Moroccans. We are descendants. Can I finish?
Where did the prophet say Al Moroccans, Moor?
He said in the 101s, Al Moroccans. Okay, Al Moroccans is a people. Al Moroccans
we don't have those 101s, Moor. Well, hold on. I want to ask my brother, Islam.
Let me finish.
Wait, hold
Al
on,
Moroccans are people, and Al Morocc is the land, man.
Islam, I have to cut your mic again, beloved, because I'm asking you to hold on for a minute, because I want to ask my brother Grimmy Arnell, brother, in your set of 101s, does it say descendants of Moroccans born in America, or does it say descendants of Al Morocc?
It says descendants of Moroccans, born in America.
Your copy doesn't say
Al Morocc or anything.
So,
Islam.
No, I was going to say, so me and you can concur that that statement is not true.
That statement is not true, Moore. And when you open the Moore, mic back up, Moore, what I would like for that Moore to do is to provide me any reference regarding what he's saying, any etymological reference, any historical reference, or anything that this is El Morocc, other than the stuff that they didn't garner from Taj Tariq Bey.
Yeah, Moore, he just hung up. And see, this is what happens for everybody else that's listening in. This is why a radio show like Moorish Science Radio is so important. You see, I gave you all a reference. Go to what is it? I think it's either avalon.yale.edu or yale.avalon.edu. Or you can simply punch in the Barbary Treaties. And when you punch in the Barbary Treaties, you're going to find the Treaty of Peace and Friendship between Morocco and the United States, 1786. The Sultan, and through his representative, his diplomatic liaison, Tahir, I believe his full name was Tahir Abdullah Finish, calls this America Estados Americanos. So where does the word Al Morocc come from for the word America? This is something that these brothers made up. My research, I just want to say real quick, my research shows that the original name of the land was Marab, M-A-R-A-B, which is in line with Morab or Morav, where you get the word Al-Morav from, the Morav or Almoravids, the Almoravids or the Moabites, the Marabites. Another term was Morabites, Al-Morabutin. The French called it Morocco.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No, let me just say this real quick, Moore. The French called it Morocco, M-A-R-O-K. I got more texting me saying my 101s say Moroccans born in America. So the brother just came on the show with pretzel logic.
Right.
That's pretzel
but you know,
logic.
Moore,
Go ahead, Moore.
You know, and that's why, you know, things like this are necessary, because for years and years and years, Moors have been fed poison by other Moors, and they, you know, and no disrespect to the brother. You know, I hope he calls back so we can address the situation.
Well, he can't call back in now. The stream is over. Once you hang up,
okay,
that's it. He just wanted to. Look, Moore, that brother just wanted to be disruptive, if you ask me, because he can't prove none of that stuff. They want to push the dictates of the brother Jelani Bey. Well, have that brother come on the show and let's see if he can show and prove. Because I've been feeding to chop it up with the Moor in some type of live discussion to see if these Moors are really sheiks and that they really hold the will of the prophet in their breast, or if they are just trying to push their own agendas. That's all. If what you say, there's various grand bodies out there. And they're in these grand bodies Moors that to the tooth and letter of dealing with what Prophet Noble Drew Ali brought. And I, for one, I respect those brothers. We can get into all the politics another time. Those Moors that uphold the Prophet's stuff, I respect those brothers. Those Moors that come with the Al-Marak and Northwest of Mexim and is the America, and never, I asked the brother, give me a reference. I gave you all references. Let's get these brothers like that. Kalua. Let's get Jelani Bey. Let's get Taj Tariq Bey. Let's get who else? Any of the other Moors that practice and teach this misinformation to our people. Let's get them on the show, and I'm gonna break them up. I just gotta be honest. I'm gonna do it respectfully, but I'm gonna do it powerfully. I'm gonna break them up.
And I just wanted to say more of this. You know, we have the Moorish guides more. We have access to the Moorish guides newspapers and articles written by the actual followers of the Holy Prophet who lived with him in that time, more. And we can go back and read every last one of those articles of Noble Drew Ali's students and his sheiks and his governors and so on and so forth, and you will not find any of the concepts that these brothers teach about this being El Morak. None of that. Or you can read it. So if Noble Drew Ali's direct students didn't reflect that in the Moorish guides, how them brothers go teach that today? And every Moorish guide had to be approved by the Prophet because he was the owner and the editor. So you can't find those ideals reflected in any of the students of the Holy Prophet. My one says Moroccan,
born in America. So basically, this brother just called into the show and lied. And I just want to tell the listening audience, we still got a good number of people on the lines, that we do this because it's necessary. We have to do this. We have to bust up these myths. Pleasant Bay is another brother I would love to get that more on this show, because he basically said the Prophet lied when he said that our flag is the red flag with a 5-pointed green star in the center. Let's have these discussions. I don't want to hear that, oh, Lord Abba, you always trying to debate. And then I'm trying to make y'all uncomfortable. I'm uncomfortable with the stuff y'all teaching. So I'm going to make y'all uncomfortable. That's how we used to say when we was little, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Call me what you please. That stuff does not bother me. Doesn't affect me psychologically. I chuckle at you. I laugh at you because I know that your words do not match up with what that man, being Prophet Noble Drew Ali, brought to our people. So you can say what you want. You can say whatever it is that you want. The brother said, I'm in Cali. Brother just hit me up, Jackson Bay, Islam Moore. He said, I'm in Cali. The truth is the same everywhere. Everywhere. Islam?
That's right. Islam.
What more is there to say, Moore? We busted up another myth. These Moors have a whole website of myths, and they try to go off the backs of brothers like Frederick Turner L., who did not promote that stuff that these brothers promote today. If they want to use Frederick Turner L. in that line, then I'm going to say that Moor and his demonstration is totally different than what the Moors did. That Moor, out of all of the Moors since the passing of our Prophet Noble Drew Ali, is the only Moor that demonstrated on the level. He might not have been in any grand body that one grand body may recognize. He might have been in a grand body that another grand body they might not recognize. He might have broke off from that grand body, started his own grand body, which he did. But at the end of the day, that more demonstrated what Prophet Noble Drew Ali did. So this tax protesting stuff, I mean, look, Bratton Bay, if you're listening, if you got sheiks listening, we can do this next week. I'll pull up some of these cases to whereas the claims that you're making in these cases, Bratton Bay versus the commission, this stuff is crazy. It does not match up with the will of what Prophet Noble Drew Ali brought. Period. It does not match up with what a brother like Frederick Turner L did, because he was moving for our people nationally, politically, and internationally. So I think y'all brothers do a disservice to that brother's name by trying to invoke him in y'all's lineage, and y'all are not carrying out what he even was doing, or what Prophet Noble Drew Ali brought. So it is what it is. The record speaks for itself. I'm just repeating what the record said.
Right. That's right, Moore. Indeed. And it is what it is. You know, and I look at it like this, Moore, you know, the bottom line is this. This is another thing that I wanted to say. You know, the European has access more to a lot of records. And he has studied us more and studied us. He knows who we are. And he knows what we coming from. He done studied this thing back and forth for years and years and years on end, more. So when we come with certain things, he can read what we say, and he can identify, he can say, you know what, they haven't figured it out yet. Because they know. They know about the history of our people. So when you have somebody in their grandmother's basement putting some demonstration together, they know right offhand what that brother may know and what he don't know. He said they didn't figure it out yet. But the main concept was if we stick with what the prophet brought, we can't lose. That divine constitution and bylaws, the 101 questions for Moorish Americans, and the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America. And if we stick with that foundation and that base and all the prophets' laws, we can't lose. And that's Satan's intent, more, is to get us off the path to start worrying about these other things more to keep us. I mean, we've been dwelling in the wilderness too long, and it's time for us to come out. And these teachers, like these individuals that teach these poor young brothers, they gonna have hell to pay because they are directly responsible for the confusion. So
more, Islam. I don't mean to cut you, but I just want to jump in right there because I just got a text from one of the Moors.
No, I said my apologies, Moore.
No. My apologies for cutting you off, but I wanted to jump in right there because when you said about these young men that's being confused, I just got a text from one of the brothers. I'm not going to blow the brother's name up. That said that whole plot with them brothers from Florida that was involved in the Sears Tower thing, that the feds ran up in Bratton Bay's office based on that whole demonstration. And there's some connection to it. So when you say that these Moors are doing stuff that's causing confusion in the minds of young Moors, then that, and my source is credible. and he's saying that when they ran up in this Moor's office, it was in connection to these young Moors that was making some sort of plan, because the news kept saying they was connected to the Moorish Science Temple. I'm like, these brothers ain't connected to no Moorish Science Temple. I denied that stuff since I heard. I'm like, how in the world, where they get that from? But
right.
I heard he was the teacher. I just gotta be honest, Moors, and put this stuff on Front Street. This movement is going into competent hands right now. I'm not claiming to be perfect. I'm not making any grandiose claims.
Let me excuse me, Moore. Let me say this. We don't even have to go just by what you just said, Moore. We don't even have to just go alone by what the brother told you That's all you have to do is Google a brother's name, and you'll see the court cases that he lost against the IRS and all of that kind of stuff. You know, just the LexisNexis demonstration we're talking about earlier today. And
right.
it again, it cited his bogus claim to be profit, so he shouldn't have paid taxes. I mean, the case is too lengthy to read at this point, but pretty much they said that the brother said that he was property and he was not fully restored to be property, so he don't have to pay taxes. That was the basis of his foundation in his lawsuit that he lost more against the commissioner. That's all you have to do is type it up. I hate to say names, but Bratton Bay versus the commissioner, if you type it up, it's going to pop up on the legal website, and it'll tell you the whole rundown of him losing that demonstration.
There's a chess saying, a Persian chess saying that says Shawmat, and that means the king is dead. It means checkmate in chess. And this show is checkmate. We just moved one player off the board. That these of Moors that are so extreme in their measures that do not uphold Prophet Noble Drew Ali's teachings at all. And we want the world to know. We want everybody that's listening to know, whether you be Europeans, whether you be agents that's listening in, reporting back to Europeans, whether you're a casual listener, perusing for information about the Moorish movement, whether you're a dedicated Moorish American Muslim. We want it to be known that truth is on the scene and that this movement is moving into more competent hands. And this new crop of Moors are not going to sit around for 20 and 30 years and let y'all get away with this stuff. No. That's not going to happen here, beloved. We're going to clean y'all up. And we're going to employ the same exact methodology. Because who can deny what we presented on this blog talk show tonight? Who would dare look at their left hand and say, this is not my left hand, it's my right hand? Because that's what you basically be doing, trying to even put an argument up.
Islam. And I also heard, too, more, just the last thing to add to that demonstration. They say one of them temples more, they have a big, gigantic penny of a replica of a penny hanging up in their temple. With the Abraham Lincoln.
I don't mean to laugh. I don't mean to laugh, but my goodness, are you serious though? They really represent Abraham Lincoln like that. And after what we read tonight, I hope they go back and take a second look and go among their body and say, you know what, Moors? This demonstration is wrong, Moors. Them brothers made sense. They could be mad at us tonight and go to sleep, mad at us, wake up mad, curse us out tomorrow. But I pray Allah that they go back and they look at that demonstration that they got and say, man, this is not right and exact. Let's go back and look at this. Let's go back. Why we let this brother come on our website and give one logical fallacy after another, like they got the image of Abraham Lincoln as a Moor, dark, swarthy Moor, Abraham Africanus, as if to say this is how he really looked. No, that was a caricature of him because he proposed this amendment to free slaves. And so they tried to use that against him. And this is why he had to come out to assure his constituency that they will never be on the level as me. And if he was a Moor, let me just say real quick, Moor, if he was a Moor, it is as nonsensical as the claim that Moors make when they say that Moors, what did they say, 30 Moors or 50 Moors and 20 Europeans wrote the Constitution. So you trying to tell me that these Moors wrote the Constitution and said that their own people were 3/5 of all other persons? Are you kidding me? Are we thinking?
Islam, Moor, and that's the same thing, in the fact that Abraham Lincoln may have had Moorish roots, if you will, or had Moorish roots, that is of a non-issue because as the research that you just showed, he showed the side that he took more. He showed you where he stood at. You know, you can go back to his, you know, they could talk about his Melangian roots and so on and so forth, but they recognized him as a European, and he took a extremely European stance with trying to get Asiatics off this continent more and acknowledge their inherent inferiority, in his own words.
It's so clear. We laid it out on the show. I'm quite sure brothers are going back right now and doing their research. I know some of the people that are listening in that really don't know what's going on. They just wanted to hear what this whole demonstration was about. I know that they are just baffled at how could anybody one of the Moors hit me up, said, laugh out loud. They went on lunch break. The Europeans came back early and put the 3/5 in and then knocked the feathers off their heads. Oh, that was funny. That was funny. That's to those people that say that 20, I can't remember what the number is, 50 Moors and 20 Europeans sat down and wrote the Constitution. Just nonsensical. And every couple of weeks, Moors, we're going to do one of these shows on myth busting. And we're going to ask prior, tell your sheik or government, national government man, people that rewrote the prophet's whole divine constitution. How could you, look, Moor, and this is to, I got to call a name here. This is to the brother Pleasant Bay. If you look at the United States Constitution, what they wrote, it hasn't changed since it was written. That stands as the law. Nobody else took that document and said, we're going to write a new constitution, renaming some of the names and all of that, because that was just the law. That was it. This brother went and changed the prophet's words off of the Constitution. It just shows the level of disrespect that Moors have for what Prophet Noble Drew Ali brought. It's sickening, Moor, and it goes against reasoning. And the Moors that are out there that will argue you down. I've been on the phone with some of these obstinate brothers that refuse to answer one question. This the last Moor from that camp. He just started cursing me out. I just hung up on him. I'm like, unbelievable. Unbelievable. These people are crazy. And then you got the Moors in Canada. Oh, man. These Moors up in Canada are the Canaan land Moors. Cujo Adwo El. Up there selling nationality packages to Europeans, saying that Moors shouldn't get on the Europeans that he sold the nationality packages to, because by doing that, we're deadbeat dads because these Europeans are our sons.
Islam, Moor. That's what I'm talking about. And, you know, this behavior is acceptable. And it is no longer becoming acceptable for Moors to say, oh, man, that's not what the prophet brought. These Moors got to come out, and they have to show and prove this stuff. And in order for us to be taken serious, those people more in that teaching, we're not saying we hate these brothers, but those teachings more, they have to be suppressed. And that's the bottom line.
Not suppressed more. They have to be eradicated, eliminated, removed from the public domain.
Islam, that's correct.
That's why these shows are necessary. Every couple of weeks, we're going to do the Moorish myth-busting show. I have a plethora of topics I want to touch on. What is the prophet called Sheikh Sharif Abdul Ali? What is the flag Prophet Noble Drew Ali brought, not the Moorish flag? I got a list of stuff that I've heard some of these Moors say over the years that's just absolutely nonsense. Nonsense, Moors. And no true Moors, not only do they not believe it, they just will give you records to back up the stuff. Like the brother Grimmy Yarnell said about old Moorish God newspapers, about old, old, just the stuff that the prophet said and his students to back up and verify the claims that are antithetical to what these Moors are talking about. Just point blank period.
The prophet's original students, they didn't teach any of that, and they can't find any deductions that they taught any of that in any of those articles of the prophet's students in the Moorish Guide.
Well, we have it for all of you Moors listening in tonight. You see what it is. You see what it is. If you're gonna go deal with any Moorish group, make sure that these Moors deal with Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Soon as they start saying stuff, well, this is what Noble Drew Ali meant. These Moors are not real. These Moors are just as fake as a $3 bill, man. And we have to root this problem from among us, because it still represents the Negro problem that the Prophet talked about, which is this mindset. It's this mindset that says we do not honor the Moorish Science Temple of America. And don't get me wrong, Moors in the Moorish Science Temple of America, it's time to upgrade. We in 2013. I gotta send a shout out to y'all too. We in 2013. It's time to upgrade. We're not in 1928 no more. We have to move according to the times. Custom does not alter the nature of the truth, neither does the opinion of man destroy justice. It's just, we gotta step up to the times. I say this all the time. Even R&B, gospel music went R&B. We can't be Mahalia Jackson no more. We gotta be BB and CC Winans in this demonstration that we have in 2013, Moors. We gotta step it up. Y'all are not exempt from critique in that regard, because we gotta make this thing attractive to the Moors that's coming in. There's Moors that want to come into this movement, and when they go to temples, they like, man, it's like I went into a church in the 1930s. And don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to knock the way a person demonstrates. If that's what you're comfortable with, that's what you're comfortable with. But at some point in time, you look at what the church is doing. You look at what T.D. Jakes is doing. Some of these other up-and-coming preachers and ministers, they're moving with the times. They have taken on self-help information. I watched the T.D. Jakes joint one day. He barely quoted any scripture. Everything that he said, it sounded like he read from a self-help guide. Our whole Moorish Quran is a self-help guide, Moors, and we have to present it that way. Every Friday, I believe, every Friday Holy Day meeting, it should be a self-help meeting. When they leave, when the members leave, they should feel like they can move mountains with their mind. Again, this is my opinion. This is my opinion. I want to make that be clear. We gotta step our game up, and this way we'll drown them other people out, because we'll make this movement attractive. This is what the Prophet did. He put on public displays. He put on spectacles. Come, watch me escape. I will be bound with yards of rope and will escape before the audience with no assistance, like Jesus did in the Garden of Gethsemane. I will heal people in the audience without even touch. We have to do these things. We have, Moors, I'm just saying, Moors, we got to step it up in the Moorish Science Temple of America. Islam.
That's right, Moor.
So, if you got anything else to say, beloved? You want to close out with anything?
No, I just want to say, Moor, I couldn't. I thank you for giving me this opportunity to come on Moorish Science Radio. I come on. I'm not representing this. I came on of my own will and accord. Nobody sent me to address this. I did it on my own accord, more because I personally saw a need for this demonstration. I know you're not. I know I'm not coming on here, for any fame, fortune, or ego. The bottom line is that, this information that we just put out is the truth against long-held, lies. You can't just put pork chops in the box and give them to me and tell me that they're steaks. And that's exactly what these brothers have done. They put pork chops in the box and they give them to poor Asiatics that's looking for the truth and just tell them that it's steak. And as long as these people have the front row of the institution that they call the Moorish Science Temple of America, that's what people go believe Moorish science is about.
That's right. That's right.
You put two more and you type in, you would pull 1 million videos up of Taj Tariq Bey. It's time for us, you know what I'm saying, to put the master out there. I'm not going to call his name, but I'll call him the master out there so everybody can know, you know what I'm saying, what Moorish science is really about. And with that, brother, man, I say peace and love, and thank you again for the opportunity to bust this Moorish myth.
Islam, and praise Allah for you, brother, man. I'm so glad that you decided to come on and assist with this, because your points were so vital, and your breakdowns of what was clearly obvious. It wasn't like some off-centered interpretations. The text itself was self-evident. It was self-evident. It was a pro-slavery document. Then to bring on what this particular, I believe, senator or congressman said was the nail in the coffin. We put the document out there. It's going to be on the website soon. With that, Moors, I want to say love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice to you all. Oh, man, I was really looking forward to this, and I'm so glad that we were able, that Allah gave us the opportunity, that Prophet Noble Drew Ali gave us the opportunity to bust one of these myths. So with that, I'll say peace.
Peace and love.
Poetic prophecies. Luke T the GP. Who's guarding the holy city of Mecca to keep the unbelievers away? Angels. Just as the sacred city of Tuba gives to the Moorish community in Senegal, Chicago is the Moorish community Mecca, in America. Land of Kuliha. Mecca, they call it the Shah. Mecca, remember, do or die. Mecca, where Moors are still set tripping about days gone by. If I was an angel, I'd be Michael like Corleone. I exert that same style and class. I ride for the mass of the multitude. Always have, always will. I feel the thrill ain't gone if we repent and turn from our wicked ways. But unfortunately, crime pays. So I rise, suffer delays. I give praise to the merciful, the beneficent, the crescent, moon and star on my left chest, circle 7 on the right, man, mind, frame, and flight, observing the turning out of our souls. Satan on patrol, going to and fro like Thelonious Monk. Niggas in each other for dunk-a-dunk. The first line of defense dunked in the trunk. So our women and you are easy prey for the beast to feast upon their innocence. Shame on you, Grand Chief. Shame on you, divine ministers. Mecca. 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 Land of Kuliha. Mecca, they call it the Shah. Mecca, remember, do or die. Mecca, where Moors are still set tripping about days gone by. I heard a Mo say there's no salvation in Mecca. It hit me like a brick. Ironic, As the drum kicks, aid and assist this itch I spit. I grit my teeth as I proceed. The worshipful master sent in his mold to put holes in this divine and national movement, intent upon killing our improvement. I'm feeling this movement. I saw the episode in a dream. The betrayal, Claude Green and Lomax Bay divided the MST of A that we still suffer from today. Supposed to be the uniting of Asia. Peace to my G-baby Shania, but it's more like divisibility than unity, confusion than peace. The prophet said he would pull back the lower ethers and release the beast. The lower self incarnate. Mecca needs to learn to love instead of hate. Cause while they beefing in the temple, the youth beefing in the street. Where's the young people Moorish National League? Fatigue is setting in on the BS. Demonstrate industriousness or shut the hell up.